Good afternoon, Commissioners. If we will come to order, we will begin the monthly meeting of the Anderson County Budget Committee for Thursday, January 5, 2023, 4 o'clock p.m. Robbie, if you would, call the roll, please.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Wandell. Here. Commissioner Foster is absent. Commissioner Vandegrift.
Here.
Commissioner Val.
Here.
Commissioner White, absent. Commissioner Denenberg.
Yeah.
Commissioner Beauchamp.
Here.
And Commissioner Smallridge.
Let the record reflect, we do have a quorum. Commissioner Foster is en route. If you would, join me in prayer, and we'll ask Commissioner Wandell to lead us in the pledge. Heavenly Father, we come to you today again to give you honor and praise and to thank you for all the good things in our life. Lord, we know that all good things come from you, most of all our salvation. Please forgive us of our sins. Times, Father, we don't act like that we're saved. Lord, we pray as we enter into this meeting today that you'll be with each heart, each mind, as we open the business of your people to do what's right in your eyes. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioners. Before we get into it, I want to thank Commissioner White for chairing the meeting last month. I was out of town on business at a drug court conference, so I appreciate him sitting in with us. Watched it online, and I think he did a pretty good job. I think y'all got out of here, what, in 20-something minutes. So please.
We're gonna do the same.
Yeah, please don't put us under that kind of pressure, but we'll certainly try. And let the record reflect Commissioner Smallridge is present. That's all right, as long as you're here. And we'll go ahead and turn it over to Director Holbrook.
Thank you, Chairman. The cash and fund balance report ending December 31st, 2022. The general fund, restricted funds are at 1.1, committed funds 1.6 million, assigned funds are at 3.7, unassigned fund balance is at 9.5 million for a total fund balance of 15,982,459. Cash this month is 15,520,868. The school department, total fund balance 13,139,714, cash 17,234,998. Any questions about the fund balance report? Cash came up this month, started collecting property taxes. In the next 2 months, it will really spike. So, in the sales tax report for November, 4,081,737.88 is up 3% for the county, for the total of the county, all the cities in the county, and the county portion was up 6%, 496,087.49, compared to 467,327 last November. So first time we've had a spike in a while. So
Any questions on any of those reports?
Just one, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wandell?
Robbie, you're talking about the general cash fund.
yes,
You said it's come up a little bit, but it's still below from last year, is that right?
it is. It's 15,520. Last year we were at 16,064,000. Keep in mind, we talked about this last month. There is still 280,000 that needs to be put in the general fund. We haven't done that still. It's from the 121 ARP funds for the EMS budget. We still are trying to figure out, sometimes getting information on how to spend the ARP funds is not as easy as it should be. So we want to do it right the first time. So we're making sure before we move that money, because there's no real, it's not a huge hurry to have to get it done. So we want to do it right and not make any mistakes. But when you add that in, we'd have 15,800,000, which is only like 200,000 less than last month. So we're getting close. We are down a little, and I think that has a little bit to do with the sales tax, that we're not collecting as much as we did last year. But, because we're up in property tax for this month compared to last year at this month, so,
So yeah, I know there's another page on it, but the American Rescue Funds, it's showing here on this one that we're talking about, the fund, cash and fund balance report, that $12,859,454. That's showing what to us, that's how much cash is still
in the bank,
in that code.
yes.
A lot of it could have been obligated or.
But it hasn't been.
Spent yet.
Still in the bank.
Yes, and drawing.
And we'll cover that here in a little bit.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Mr.
Actually, right now.
Okay.
So, on the ARP projects for December, we had no new projects. If you can see, compared to last month, our expended to date, 1.8 million, which is up through 294,288 from last month. That's really the only change in the ARP funding projects for this month. We had no new committed projects last month, and we still have 3.7 million in revenue loss available, almost 4 million in other eligibilities, 1,881,278. Did we take the 250 off for TDEC yet?
Not moved that yet.
So we still have the 250,000 obligated for Highland, which is on the agenda tonight to discuss as well for the, we committed 250,000 to Comcast and Highland for, I guess, internet, and we are going to lease property for Highlands for their contribution, and we'll get that 250 back to
Okay.
be eligible to spend again.
All
Any
right, so-
questions?
If I could, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, did I?
No, you're fine.
Okay, so, we'll start with the 250 for Highland. It's part of the 500? And you said we'll get it back, I mean,
We'll put that back in as a spending. As soon as everything with that is finalized, there are some expenses with the property leasing. That's that's on the section portion tonight to discuss. An assessment and clearing the land. It's not very much, so we need to decide how we want to, well, actually, we did decide. We took a code in the general fund that we had money in already and paid for that assessment. So we can, I think, unless anything's wrong with the assessment and they decide not, there's still questions about that exchange, so.
okay. So it's, I found it here on the paper, item 3 down
Yes.
on that ARP projects, GA012.
That is it.
So it's budgeted 500,000, expended to date shows nothing yet, and then budgeted but not expended is 500,000, and project status is in progress. No revenue loss attached, those are the things you were talking about earlier with the 3.7, 1.8. What's that?
I'm sorry, that would be the part that would change. The 250 that we could go back to the revenue loss category, which gives us more flexibility.
So we're just not comfortable changing the budgeted but not expended 500 to 250 because we're gonna be given the 250 in land? Is that kind of the thought?
That is the thought.
But when that happens, we'll still have 250
Committed
of
for
ARP
Comcast.
extra left over, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then, did you have, go ahead if you had anything else.
No, I didn't.
Well, Mayor, we talked about this in the last commission meeting, and you said you kind of lumped it together for the Claxton project. Where's that at there, Robbie? I'm trying to find
It's
it.
like 10 down, GA 010-121-91401-399, right under countywide assessments.
Okay,
It's 92,000 and 30,000 right under it.
okay. So is the Claxton being done then? Because it says pending, that's why I keep asking.
Oh, well, I guess, so I checked in with Houston, I guess, mid-December, on where we're at. They're still not, they still haven't started that, so they're working through, it's going to be part of that county, so they're tagging it on at the end of the countywide assessment. So I checked in with him, that's still not started, they're still working on the initial part, which is the full assessment, so.
So we budgeted on the full assessment, county-wide assessment, which you're speaking of, the water and sewer planning, $92,000. We expended to date $32,273.50. We got budgeted but not expended, remaining $59,726.50. It's in progress, revenue loss, yes. And then under that is the Claxton sewer study for $30,000, expended to date, nothing. Budgeted but not expended $30,000, and it says pending and revenue loss, no. And what you're saying, Mayor, is that Claxton sewer study is going to be lumped into the 92,000?
Yes, so it'll be, so what we're doing is after one of the very first things we authorized was that comprehensive plan.
Correct.
And so then we had the discussion as we brought all the things that Anderson County Water Authority had on their list and some of the things that we wanted to accomplish, which was that Claxton sewer solution where, you know, we untangle everything. And what I talked to Cannon and Cannon about was, can we, you know, add on an additional look at Claxton as part of that countywide assessment? So we're just not there. I'm assuming, you know, just as soon as they get further along, what it's for is actually things like the cameras and things like that to get down into the lines, to actually put them on that assessment plan. So I don't know where it fits in their work plan, but we're getting there. I'm assuming I'm going to get another bill for, you know, this last month of work, but it is going to be part of that. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying, if I'm interpreting correctly, the Claxton sewer line study will be done after the countywide assessment.
Yeah, it's either after or there's going to be a trigger point where they say, we're now ready.
Okay.
And, yeah. So I just don't control their work plan, but I can try to get some more details on that.
No problem. I just remember you saying it was going to be folded into the countywide assessment at our last commission meeting, and I was wondering if that's the case, then why do we have a separate line item for Claxton sewer study? It seems like we would just bump up the countywide assessment to, you know, what is it, 112 or something, 122? I can't add very good, but you'd add them together and then just get the results. But I just want to be sure the Claxton sewer line study is completed as one of the main things we talked about when we started meeting.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I guess we just, from a functionality standpoint, we did it separate because it came later. I had an agreement that had a scope of work. That scope of work, when we, gosh, Randy even helped me go over that scope of work. We kind of went through line by line to clarify because there were some open-ended things. They cleaned up that scope of work. When I went back to them for Claxton, that was later.
Okay.
And I said, can we add that? And they said, yes, absolutely, we can do that. So it may end up from a expenditure authorization. We may lump it in with that agreement, but it will be issued as a separate purchase order because it was done separately or authorized separately.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sir, any further questions over any of the reports so far?
If I could, I see our Gary Long sitting out there with the Highway Department. I know there's been looks like some expenditures so far. Gary, could we get a quick update on the countywide paving projects?
Yes, and thank you. Yes, we've got 2 of the roads completed as to date, and then we're waiting on the contractor and the weather. Bull Run Valley will be our next expenditure out of this, but we appreciate your help.
No,
Any other
thank you.
questions?
What 2 roads have been done? I apologize.
That's not a problem. Hillvale Road and Brown Fork.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Let the record reflect Commissioner Foster is present.
Sorry I'm late.
It's all right. Don't let it happen again. Go ahead, Robbie, with the,
All right.
with the transfers.
Transfers are next. 1 through 3, we could take them as a group. I could answer any questions, or we can take them individually, whatever the motion.
Move as a group.
Commissioner Smallridge moves to approve items 1 through 3 as a group. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Denenberg. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wandell?
I guess it's item 2. The EMA office equipment is, what's, I didn't see the information, what's that for?
Well, actually, Commissioner Vandegrift emailed me and asked me about this one too. And I called Karen today, and so, like, a good example is today, there was an accident on I-75 at mile marker 119, and they had an acid spill with a big truck, and they have to go out there, and some of their supplies, like, I think she said it was the boom soaking pads, they had used several of those, so they have to replace those supplies after they use them, you know, for the next emergency. Also, the volunteer fire departments, anytime they respond to a fire and use any of their supplies, we replace those with this funding too. And it's down to $33, so.
I-
They're here tonight too, if you'd like.
Yeah, no, I don't question any of that, but when I'm reading,
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it says decrease office equipment code, right? Then it says increase other charges. Well, other charges, I have no clue what other charges is. And I
A lot of
apologize,
things.
I asked, and you gave me a good explanation, and I support that. I'm not saying we're wasting.
I didn't know your question, the 590, that could be a lot of things, other charges, a lot of different
Yeah,
items.
detailed justification explanation to purchase supplies and materials for the remainder of fiscal year.
Right.
So I asked myself, well, what happened to the original budget where the department, forget who it is, what happened to cause a deficit in the supply needs?
I mean, yeah, Ross is here. I mean, they had a lot of emergencies, I'm guessing, but I don't.
So out of that code, normally we get all our hazmat supplies out of, our booms, our socks, our absorbent pads, some putty that we use, and it's fairly expensive. But also we take our propane for the hangar up there at Station 6 to heat for our trucks. So it comes out of there too, and that's why.
So are all those things lumped under the 599 code?
I think that's just where we normally pull them from, right? Yeah.
Okay. I would just maybe, whenever we can do it, suggest that code be corrected to something to say booms, pads, absorbents, whatever. I mean, it's kind of hard. You understand where I'm coming
Yeah, oh
from?
yeah. I
It's kind of
understand.
like my kid coming to me and say, hey, I need some cash, and
Yeah.
what's it for, son? And, well, I need some gas. Well, let's just call it gas. Let's not just tell me you need $20. I need but I appreciate you coming and explaining it.
Yeah,
okay?
no problem.
All right. I'm going to support it. I'm not against it.
Okay.
You understand where I'm coming from? I don't know what
Absolutely.
it's for.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
And I
Chairman.
think sometimes that's where if we could get some people do a really good job with explanations at the bottom, and then sometimes it's very brief, so.
No problem.
Any further discussion? And I'm glad Commissioner Wandell asked that. One note I'd like to make as a side note is the financial assistance that we give to the volunteer fire departments through the EMA budget. I don't think we talk about that a whole lot. I know fire commission members, we kind of know that, but sometimes the general public or other commissioners may not know that that's another way we're supporting our local volunteer fire departments as well.
Good. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 4 is from the Election Commission. It is a transfer for payroll, increasing part-time help 169 by $5,000, and the machine text code $600, and taking it from election workers, $5,600.
Do we have a motion?
Motion approved.
Commissioner Foster moves to approve item number 4. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Commissioner Smallridge seconds the motion. Any discussion?
Just like, I guess is this additional, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll start with Commissioner Bochamp.
Robbie, if I'm not mistaken, didn't we just give him money for part-time help?
No, 2 or 3 months ago, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did finally hire a full-time position, a new additional staff member, I guess, last month. So
So
And
did
they
that-
had been using a lot of part-time during that time.
Did the part-time money that we approved go to the full-time employee that they hired?
No,
'Cause
it
I'm
go- it
confused
would-
of why he's asking for part-time money
I
again 2 months
think because he's
later.
using, I can't speak for himself, except for the explanation at the bottom, but he's using, he had used so many part-time employees, and it was eating his budget, so even with his full-time staff, they continue to hire part-timers throughout the year. I know that because our office is across the hall, so. I can't answer that question.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Wandell?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I may be off base here, but I guess what I'd like to know, Robbie, and certainly not this very moment, but I would like to know the budget for this department. I'd like to have a breakdown of all cost and all revenue. And I'd like to know, also, Mr. Chairman, we might need to do this at a different committee, maybe operations, but I then would like to know, what are the state law requirements allowable to us as a commission as it relates to early voting? Since I've been sitting on commission since 2006 or something, it seems to me we spend a lot more money doing these early voting periods. We have a lot more cost, and we're not getting many more voters. And I don't know what the law says as it relates to TCA code that requires us to do the early voting, but I certainly would like to see it reduced from the 2.5 weeks or whatever it is down to a reasonable number, and have a reasonable number of people working and employed, because we're spending a lot of money to have these elections, and I just don't think it's fair to the taxpayers to have to pay all that money when, reality back in the day, you show up on election day, voted, and you didn't have as much cost, probably a quarter of the cost. And this is just another example of a need for $5,600 to go fix machines that might break down during that 2-week period, I guess. So I'd like to investigate that, but I think, Robbie, you could help me with just in the future, no time soon, you don't have to do it tomorrow, just, I'd like to see that budget, or you point me in the right direction, I'll go look it up, and I want to see the revenue codes, I want to see the cost, I want to see what's paid out to each location. I want to see how many people are employed at each location. Everything I can find out, I want to research that, and then we'll talk about it.
I'll have to get a lot of that information from him. We do pay the poll workers
Mhm.
through our office, but it's an AP check unless they make a certain amount of money, which the early voters do, they're paid payroll, but like a poll worker that works just election day is an AP check, so, and I can pull those records and see if it breaks it down by location.
One of the costs that concerned me in the budget when I looked at it, I don't know, 8 months ago or so, is travel that goes to a couple places. And, I think something we need to take a look at. So I'll take a look at those things.
I'll email all of y'all the
Thank
count analysis and budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Dennenberg?
I was just gonna ask that we all get a copy of whatever.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smart?
Yeah, I notice it says here, this is for election technicians during the November election. Do we have an extended period of early?
Well, they work on the machines, they go out at the locations and they'll bring the machines back to where they store them, and some are done by, I think, a moving store. But there's 5 or 6 of them that work on the voting machines, and they're probably I don't know the ins and outs of all the election, but I would anticipate that they work election days as well. If there's anything wrong with the machines on that, during an election, that they could be there on standby to fix them.
But I guess the question in my mind is, why do we need the extra time now that for technicians
Well,
at this point. So I just agree over here, we need an explanation, but I'd like to make sure we give them a chance to explain.
I'll ask him, we can pull this and bring it back next month, and and I'll ask him to come to the meeting. Or we could go down there and get him right now. I mean,
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Hand vote, please. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Now, we're in favor, excuse me, in
Yeah, we're
favor.
doing the vote again, so I can get a count. So all in favor, raise your right
In
hand.
favor of approving the money.
Favor of approving.
Oh,
Okay, so that might have been one of my faults. The motion on the floor by Commissioner Foster is to approve item number 4, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge. Those in favor of this, raise your right hand. And the noes? Motion fails.
But again, I want to say, I hope we give them a chance to come in and explain at the next meeting.
Sir? Let the record reflect Commissioner White is present. Don't feel bad, Commissioner Foster was late as well, Commissioner White.
And Commissioner.
You're in good company. Well, and Commissioner Smallridge. Go ahead, Robbie. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, yeah, get them their packet.
okay. The next one is from the mayor for website hosting, $560. It's increasing $399 with the cost center ORRCI for Oak Ridge Reservation Communities Alliance, and we will be reimbursed this $560 by the Communities Alliance from Oak Ridge as well.
Commissioner Denenberg moves to approve item number 5. Second by Commissioner Foster. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 6 is from the mayor and Buildings and Grounds and Roger Lloyd and the Mayor Frank. It's increasing 51,800,335 repair and maintenance, 18,635 from unassigned fund balance to purchase a digital bell controller for the Slover chimes that are atop the courthouse. I don't know if everybody's aware that we have chimes that, they used to ring every hour, but they haven't been working lately. So,
Do we have a motion? Commissioner Denenberg moves to approve item number 6. Do we have a second? I'll second that. Any discussion?
Sure.
Commissioner Foster?
The only question I have is, when we pulled the money, we pulled it from unassigned fund balance. Did we look at doing any ARPA funds for that, since seems like a capital project?
Oh,
we could.
we could.
It's a possibility.
I know we've got to use that money faster than we need to use our unassigned fund balance. That was my only question. Did we consider that? And didn't know if you had a.
I mean, it would qualify as an expense, certainly.
Yep. If you'd like to make that change, we can do that. I told Robbie, we got the proposal. The chimes have not worked for a while. Sometimes they will come on. The problem is the controller is 25 years old. It no longer works with the system. This is more than just the controller. It also is building an electrical panel. I tried to put a little bit in there about it. If you hold on one second, I'll explain a little bit more of it. So one of the complaints that we do receive as well is when the bells do work, there is no way to program them to go off. So for instance, they'll go through the night, then we get people in the immediate area that complain that we need to turn the bells off. Then we get some complaints that why aren't the bells working? These are historical bells. So we finally just kind of pulled the trigger on this. The Courier's actually also doing a historical look at the Slover chimes. But what this new system will allow us to do is actually schedule the playtime. So you can play daily, you can do weekly, you can do just once if you want, and then you can also, say the county has an event, you can actually have people play them, or you can schedule. It can be operated off of your phone or through a laptop or your desktop computer, instead of where the controller is now is in circuit court. So like if someone wants to even come visit or see the chimes, which that does happen over time. There was a lady, for instance, that's written a book. We had to schedule a time when court wasn't there where she could come in and take a look. That's where it's housed. This would no longer be a problem, but it would allow the chimes to get back in working order. They would also service the chimes. They intend to utilize the existing solenoid strikers. They do not believe that any of these strikers need to be replaced, but if we get these back up and running, then we do, as I put in the justification, we do anticipate doing a yearly maintenance where they would come in, clean, check all the strikers, do all that on an annual basis, as well as the controller.
Do you want to make an amendment that the funds come from the ARP?
Yes. And
Funds.
there's the 18,635, there's a 1,300 annual fee. The 1865 covers the first year.
Yeah, that's not in there until next year, so we would get the system up and running, do the new electrical panel, all of that, then your annual maintenance would be a year from now. So it's not an issue right now.
Gotcha.
So Commissioner Foster moves to amend the motion that the funding comes from the ARPA funds. Do we have a second on that amendment?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Denenberg. Any discussion on the amendment about the source of the funding? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried. Now back on the original motion as amended, that we approve item number 6 with the funding coming from the ARPA funds. Any discussion? Commissioner Smalley.
Yeah, Mayor, when they were working, I take it they haven't been working very well.
They have not run in, gosh, I don't know, I'd have to ask Roger, it seems like a year.
When they were working, how often did they come on every hour, or?
Yes, okay, go ahead.
My employee, back a few years ago, we were asked if we could take a look at those bells and the controller for them. It is all analog. It's almost like the tube type. It's that old where it has no real logic in it. There's no programming it can do other than certain limited things, and that's with a sliding button. The system is unstable. It will run, but then it will fail. You have to reset it and do all kinds of things. We, for a while, had to disconnect it because it wasn't even acting correctly with the programming that it had. But we have attempted to repair it and make it work with what we have, and it's not happening. It's kaput. I just wanted to put that out there.
I think it actually had like a chime on the quarter hour, and then it would ring hourly. And one of the issues we had just with the system was it would not ring accurately at the right time. So you could not set your watch by it.
Have you had a lot of input since it's not been working?
Oh, yeah.
People
We have people regularly reach out. Why aren't they working? When are they going to work? And then the ones who complain when it is working, because they can't sleep at night, they're happy right now.
Thank you.
So hopefully we'll make everyone happy if we get the new system where we can turn it off on the night hours.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Mayor, are these the bells that was on the original courthouse, do we know?
These were, and I can get everyone, we have a night, well, actually, Pete Gotta with the Courier is going to do a historical piece for the Courier. These were given by, I cannot remember, I'll have to get it to you. They were a donation, and then I think there was a committee years ago, maybe 30 years ago, maybe longer, that got together and helped restore them to working order, and that's kind of the system that we have now. And so now we've moved forward to where, that control system is obsolete now. It's not even no longer serviced. You can't even get parts or anything like that for it.
I had Roger take me up there to take a look at them when I first got elected. A lot of history you can tell just by looking at them. And the only reason I know what song it plays is because my grandmother's grandfather clock we had, it was Westminster Abbey.
Okay,
That's
yes.
the only reason why I recognize the song, but,
Yeah, there's
I'll-
actually in archives, there's the, player piano, those scrolls with the cutouts. That's what
Wow.
it originally operated on. So we've got those scrolls up there.
a lot of history.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, 7 and 8 are from the library board, $810 from their dedicated reserve for, it's for grant money that will be reimbursed, $347 for data processing services, and $463 for office supplies.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Commissioner Wandale moves to approve item number 7, seconded by Commissioner Denenberg.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, and 8 is also from the library board, $212 for their rental of P.O. Box. This is for the board, this P.O. Box.
Motion to
Move
approve.
it.
I'll second.
Commissioner Wandale moves to approve item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Denenberg. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 9 is from County Commission, $1,750 for other contracted services from unassigned fund balance to pay for the other half of open meeting subscription fees for the voting system for January of '23 to June of '23.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Smallridge to approve item number 9, seconded by Commissioner Wandale. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 10 is from Fleet Services. It's insurance recovery, and we have received the check on 12/30
Motion to
for
approve.
$15,148.76, yes.
Commissioner Wandale moves to approve item number 10, seconded by Commissioner Foster. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, and the last one is from the Highway Department, Gary Long, $200,000 from the restricted funds for highway equipment, just if necessary. If they don't spend the money, it will roll back into fund balance. But a couple months ago, or it might have been even last month, Gary, we had to come to commission with a special request that night because he ran into an issue, and this is just for emergency situation.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll approve.
Commissioner
I'd
Wandale.
like to hear from Gary, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I just, thank you, and that's just, would like to replenish budget. We've got some equipment ordered and waiting on some for delivery and things of that nature, and we've spent what we had, so appreciate it.
Commissioner Wandale moves to approve item number 11, seconded by Commissioner Denenberg. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chairman,
Gary.
can I ask Gary a question real
Yeah.
quick? Gary's, the supply picking up any better? or
Oh, it's a
still-
nightmare, no.
Still
It's a
waiting?
nightmare. The last item we bid out was a service truck, and we may get it this fiscal year through Ford Motor, we may not, but we're on the list to, they're trying to accomplish and put one together, and the vehicle before that, they had it on the assembly line, and it's out now having a bed put on it, and we may get it in 3 weeks, maybe 3 months. Chipper, prior to that, we've been waiting on it for 6 or 7 months after the completion of the bid process, so it's very sketchy on the delivery and supply side.
Like those items, Gary, have we already paid for them?
We have the money to pay for them. No,
We
we
have
don't
the
pay
money,
for
we
it.
just haven't.
No, we've got the money, and we've got it on POs and all that's taken care of.
It's committed.
That's why we're out of money, but yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you.
Thank you, thank you.
Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, that's all the budget amendments I have. There are a couple under new business, but that's a couple now. So next is last year we didn't start budget till February, but that kind of pushes us in the past, we've started in January, and I decided with so many new commissioners on the Budget Committee that we would go ahead and start this January, just get started and get our budgets out to the different departments, and we'd have more time to go through all this. But today, our goals for budget is just to establish guidelines, approve the forms, and the calendar. And the guidelines, honestly, have been the same, and I have them in here the last few years. We typically ask for a no increase budget from departments. In the past, we like to do that, look at our expenditures, we take the revenue and we see what we have available, if there's money for, you know, capital purchases, raises, whatever. But we like to prepare a structurally balanced budget, generating revenue sufficient to cover planned expenses. If a department has an increase, like a lot of departments have in gas, sometimes they're able to take it from other codes in their budget and move money. We prefer they do that. If we do have departments that increase budgets, that they come back to me with an increased budget, I put them on a budget hearing and I have them present to you all for approval. A lot of times we get a salary increase, which I definitely put those on the Budget Committee for if it's out of the norm, or a major increase in line items. I'll bring back to budget hearings. And, but, I mean, I can go through each one of this, but it's the same every year. It talks about the forms, the budget process, and just the dates that, on the calendar, that all the dates are changed for this year. I've tried to schedule every meeting during a budget meeting or county commission. There is one exception. The budget hearings are always an extra. We always meet on an extra Thursday in March in a special call meeting. And if necessary, in June, we might have a special call county commission meeting if we can't get the budget passed during the regular meeting. But normally, we don't have to have any extra meetings or anything. We might meet a little bit longer on some of the meetings to cover budget stuff, but it's usually done during the meeting. So, but I just need a motion for the guidelines. If y'all have any suggestions on the guidelines or have any ideas, I mean, I'm open to any suggestions. This has just been what we've done in the past. It's worked well. And to approve the calendar and the forms that are behind it, which a lot of the forms, the employee payroll tax and fringe benefit calculations, I fill out. I have to do all the medical insurance, any benefit for the county, I put on there myself, and we do the salaries. And I enter all that on that form. We did a questionnaire last year, and I decided to do it again this year because it gives us some good information from the departments, what they'd like to see maybe in their budget, and I give them to you all, and that works well for the commissioners to know what some of the department heads or elected officials are thinking and wanting. And there's a capital project prioritization sheet, which we do a 5-year capital outlay worksheet, and we always have submitted. Each department is allowed to submit that. We don't get a lot of responses, some smaller items, but the sheriff and EMS always respond because they have, you know, the major capital purchases. But there's a priority sheet with essential, important, and we always try to take care of the imperative needs every year. We're able to do that. So, and the last is a grant application. We really try to stress this each year in budget for departments if they're applying for grants to fill out this, let us know. It happens sometimes, but not always, but we eventually know when they want the money. So anyway, this is, I mean, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know y'all may have some, but this is just preliminary I can get started distributing budget stuff to departments if this stuff is passed. So,
Chairman, I got a question, a couple questions.
Hang on just a second. Okay, Commissioner Foster, go ahead.
Question number one, on the no increase budget, is that on the budget that was approved or the budget that's been amended? Like, you know what I'm saying?
If it's amended, and there's always a question at the bottom on an amended budget, does this affect next year's budget? And if we pass an amendment that does affect next year's budget, then that increase is considered okay.
Okay.
So, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I just want to make sure what they're basing that no increase on.
Right.
And the second one, on the capital projects, so you didn't have very good response. Is there a threshold that we consider capital projects? I know you said EMS, sheriff usually have stuff, but
Well, they have
Somebody's
larger
gonna spend
items.
$20,000 on something. that's
Yes,
considered
we'll have
capital.
people put computer equipment, servers. I do servers and stuff for my department, but I also have a restricted code that I can use, so I try to take care of that. But a lot of departments don't have those kind of funding for things, to replace equipment with. So I asked them, they'll put that on there, and we are able to take care of stuff like that. A lot of times with unassigned fund balance rollover money, the governor's grant the last 2 years, ARP funding, some this year with smaller items, so yeah.
Any further questions for Robbie? We need a motion and a second to approve this, right?
All these, yes.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good, you're
Go
good.
ahead.
Robbie, it just so happens that you have the veteran service budget up as.
I did. I gave you all an example. I didn't put that in there, but I did give you a copy of that.
Yep.
And this is what it looks like that I send out to the departments, and the department requests is what they fill out and send back to me.
So we had a veterans meeting Tuesday night,
Yes, sir.
and we would like to increase the budget. But what you're telling me was we got to present
If
at
you,
last
yeah, it
year's
would
budget.
need to come to budget hearings.
But, and I'm not here to debate whether they should or shouldn't or anything, but, last month alone, I think it was $500,000 of new money coming into the county that we know of, they don't report all of it because it's private, and those that share it, we get to know that information. So there's $500,000 of what I call new money into the county. And there's been to me, one of the best investments this county's made is our Veterans Office. And they do quite a bit of revenue generating, if you will, for our veterans, taking care of them. And, we haven't ever really asked for any increase. I mean, you look at advertising, average has been $209. I mean, you can blow that with one advertising in the paper or whatever. So we're wanting to increase some of these areas, and we're wanting to increase the budget. So what I'm asking you is, how are we going to increase that in the process that you have laid out in front of us?
Well, what I would do, if it's a recommendation from your committee, which you're saying it is, I would enter the increases in the department request that he's asking, or they're requesting for the veterans budget, and I will put them on the budget hearings. I think you open a whole can of worms if you allow increases in every budget. And, I mean, it works best if you do budget hearings and for those departments that are asking for special increased requests and stuff.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying. I mean,
And you all have the ability to approve or reject. I mean, honestly, 90% of the budget hearings get approved.
we didn't ask for a pay raise or anything. We're just trying to get some extra funds we pay for we make donations to all the veterans'
Right.
funerals,
Yeah.
And we're running low on those.
We have a lot of those.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a process, is what you're saying. We don't necessarily have to come in at last year's budget. We can make a request, then the individual will come before us and,
I'll let them know that they have a scheduled time for the budget hearing. That's what, I normally schedule appointments for any department and they'll tell me they want to be on them.
Okay.
They have a request, an increase.
all right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Do we have a motion to
Chairman, I got
approve?
one more question, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Foster.
One last thing, do we ask on like salary increases for them, even though they spent no budget? I know in the past commissions given raises or whoever, but, for the sheriff's department, we've had a deputy come to county commission and say, hey, what the starting wage is and what, sergeants are making, compared to everywhere else. Are we asking departments, say, okay, hey, are we asking them to put some numbers together? Or when we say no increase, we're asking them not even to look at?
We don't ask for an increase in the salary line item. What they're paying, when you have a sheriff's department that has so many employees and they have a lot of turnover, they're able to give some raises throughout the year to some of their employees, and other departments are too as well. But the budget questionnaire is a way to handle a lot of, the third question on there, if compensation is a concern, how do you think it should be addressed? We try to address those kind of questions with the questionnaire, and we got a really good response last year on this questionnaire, and I think we will again this year. A lot of it is salary, it's compensation increases is a big concern for, obviously employees.
Right. Because, I mean, across the board raises are good, but that, cost of living, but certain departments are having to be more competitive than other departments because certain department can hire somebody at this rate. Well, this department can't hire somebody at that rate.
And one of the things we did last year, and Shane can speak to this, and Galloway behind me, but the detention facility got, we had to make some changes there to help with recruitment and retainment because we were having a lot of issues there. So we're able to do that kind of stuff, and we may have to do the same thing this year. I mean, I think the committee's always very open-minded to that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as far as the sheriff's budget, I think as far as the salaries goes, Robbie, isn't that something the sheriff does? I mean, we don't necessarily set the salaries for
No,
sheriff's
they do, yes.
Yeah, and, if you add both budgets together, roughly $13 million, $7 million for the jail, $6 million for operating, we'll call it. So there's the funds for the sheriff and the department to decide what to pay their people. And it's not, I think it gets turned on us, like it's our fault, somebody's not making enough. What we're gonna do is the budget. And when a department, not just the sheriff's department, any department comes before us and they ask for funds, it's incumbent upon them to pay that department and their employees what they feel is due. So, I want it to be very clear, as far as I'm concerned, I may be wrong, and if I am, I'll take the sword, but, we don't set the salaries for folks in the sheriff's department. Is that correct?
That we don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve the budget guidelines titled 23-24 fiscal year?
Motion.
And calendar, unless you want to take them
And the
separate, and
calendar.
forms, and
Put it
forms.
all together.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Bochamp, seconded by Commissioner Denenberg. Any further discussion? Commissioner
Yeah.
Smallridge.
One thing I've noticed, Robbie, and this has happened a few times, shortly after the budgets are approved, maybe within the first couple months, we get a request for what I would consider a fairly major project or piece of equipment, which seems like it could have been anticipated. And I'm not suggesting we want to encourage people to load everything up in their budget, but if it's something that could be and should be anticipated, I'd like to see them go into the budget rather than dipping into the fund balance within a month or two after we've just approved the budget. And I may be the only one that sees that or thinks.
And I'll stress the capital, the 5-year capital outlay plan for departments this year and make sure they are aware, or they're aware that they need to be filling that out and, letting us know what they need. Because I have no way of knowing unless they tell me.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's going to be things that
Right,
you don't
things come
anticipate-
up,
You can't
yes.
anticipate.
We've had a lot of insurance recovery projects this year, and I'm gonna tell you, based on what happened at the drive-through, we're getting ready to have a whole lot, there's more to that that's coming, so things like that can't be held, but,
Just a point.
right.
Any further discussion? Couple other things to point out too. In the past, what we had done was told department heads, please start out with a flat budget, a balanced budget. And then the increases that you have come to the public hearings, we'll discuss those. And then if it was a capital purchase, then we always waited until we closed the books for the current fiscal year to see if there was any surplus funds that we could use to meet those capital needs. That has been an option in the past. In the meantime, this committee also started the capital code,
We
capital
did.
fund.
We have that fund now.
And
That's
we
a good
have
point.
that fund now as well, and I think we're putting, is it a penny?
It's more than, it's a penny, I've got it right here. 1 point something. We took a little bit away from it last year.
So we're, to Commissioner Smallridge's point, the point I was trying to make was, we're trying to look down the road. I know a lot of departments are having a maintenance effort plan. I know at the jail, we have sprinkler heads that, may be, so many years old. But we know before long, those are gonna give out, so we need to start purchasing sprinkler heads to be able to replace them. Heating and air units, we learned the hard way about those. They don't last as long in the jail as they do in other areas. So if people could get on, departments could get on the same track of looking down the road for that, I think Commissioner Smallwood is right, it certainly helps quite a bit.
We put 2 pennies in that.
Two. Okay.
And also, just a reminder, we've already purchased sheriff vehicles for 2 years, ambulances for I don't know how many years with our ARP funding. So we've taken care of some capital needs for next year's budget already. And stretchers for the EMS. I mean, we've used the ARP funds for a lot of capital purchases that should help us in the future in our budget.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, to
Yes,
that point you mentioned, is it the 171 code?
Yes.
That's the capital projects?
Yes.
And then, so there's $325,521 in cash sitting
In
there
that
at this
fund,
time?
yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
The next item on the sections is the Highland Communications site prep costs by Mayor Frank. Do we need to do that anymore? I think I was supposed to take that off, wasn't I?
Yeah, I don't have proposals, so we're doing the survey process first, and then Danny has a couple proposals, but we have to get the survey to know. There's a fence there, there are a couple of trees. We can clean up the foundation right now, but we've just got to get that survey done first, so.
My
yeah.
bad, I should have taken
Yep.
that off. I didn't get back into town till was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday morning, sorry, I was on vacation, Randy did all this, and,
Randy's fault. Yeah. That's what I heard.
okay, under new business, which is next, I do have one budget amendment that I passed out tonight. And I've got for $23,356 from Jeff Cole and Regina Copeland for the county clerk trustee drive-through. We had with the cold wet, when it got really cold, the pipes froze, water, when it thawed, it ran into that little building, and it's pretty much destroyed all the equipment and a lot of, maybe the whole, everything in there. So there probably will be more, but I will say this, we're just now starting the insurance recovery process. And they're really behind because they've had so many, the state has had so many of these happen in the last, I guess, 2 weeks that they're really struggling to get to all of them. So I don't know that this will be insurance recovery. Probably good chance it will be. I put this on there, but if it doesn't come back from insurance recovery, it's coming from unassigned. I just want to make that clear so I'm not misleading the committee that this. I put that in there because I think there's a good chance we will get insurance recovery for the equipment that was lost, but it's a possibility that we won't. So, and Brian can speak to all this because I think he's went over there and handled. And I thought I saw Jeff here earlier.
He was here, he's asked me to speak if they can, if they need any information on it.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, second.
Commissioner Wandale moves to approve item number 12, seconded by Commissioner Denenberg. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
And okay, and there was one other budget amendment, number 13, passed out earlier by, it's from Kenny Sharp and Russell Barker from the Sheriff's Department, from Fund 122, the drug fund for motor vehicle, $45,000, and from their restricted funds. And once this money is used to purchase 2 replacement vehicles for narcotic investigations, they'll surplus the current vehicles and they'll put that money back into the, we'll go back into insurance recovery and roll into that fund balance at the end.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Denenberg moves to approve item number, we'll call that 13.
It'd be 13, yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Foster. Any discussion?
Chairman, I got a question.
Commissioner Foster.
The restricted for public safety, that code, what?
It's a drug fund.
That's my question. Thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chief Galloyd, you have one for Commissioner Small Ridge. Yeah, that's the last
You
one.
can have mine. Yeah. Also, in that fund, in Fund 1, there's $161,696 in that restricted fund.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner
So,
Wando.
if I read this correctly, it's gonna come out of the drug fund money.
Yes, sir. What it is, we've got a 2007 model and a 2014 model. The 7 model has about 138,000, but it's starting to have some mechanical issues. And the other one has 204,000. It was a vehicle we had bought from, one of them we bought from Fox Toyota about 5 years ago, and the other one we bought from Missouri Highway Patrol surplus for narcotic usage. And of course, now they're kind of burned and people know them.
Yeah.
So we're wanting to maybe purchase 2 SUVs that are used somewhere around the 16 to 18 models, and I feel like we could get that for about 45 for the pair. And I still think we can get about 18 to 22,000 back out of the ones to go back in that fund.
Excellent. And these will be, again, used for narcotic investigation?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else under new business, Robin? Anything under old business? Any other business come before the committee? Hearing none, we are adjourned.